We got to talk a little
fights. Let's do it. We haven't even talked about Sugar Sean O'Malley.
I know your boy, right?
The Sugar Show.
He has arrived and put himself on the map. We just came off and I don't remember the proper name for but essentially the Mexican version of Canada Day or the 4th of July. Mm-hmm. They just had a special night there, a UFC fight night, and a Mexican fighter, Grasso versus Shevchenko.
Alexa Grasso.
For the championship that Grasso just took from Shevchenko the last time out. And Shevchenko is one of my favorite fighters. Love watching what she does. And to me, when Nunes stepped away, I thought, okay, like, this is Shevchenko's world now. And but she was coming off a loss. And so they have a fight on Saturday night. It ends up being a draw thanks to a very weird 10-8 from one of the judges that left it as a draw. I didn't get a chance to watch the fight. I was beat. I went to bed long before it made air. But where are we standing at this point for you? We're going to touch in a few minutes. Actually, your buddy, I know you know Aaron Bronstatter pretty well. He put together a list for TSN of the top 10 women's fighters of all time in the UFC. We'll talk about that in a minute. But where are we now, in your opinion, in the world of the UFC on the women's side of things? Because Shevchenko lost her title, hasn't gained it back here. Nunes has stepped away. There's some weird off-the-wall talk that maybe Ronda Rousey wants to come back. But they've lost some names. Not like Shevchenko's still here, but the shine's off for a little bit. Where's the UFC at right now, in your opinion, on the women's side of things? Are they in good shape, or are we sort of in a weird transition area here?
Good shape, I think. Absolutely. And especially in this flyweight division. I like it's tough because we're just seeing, I think, maybe some of the torch getting passed here. For Valentina Shevchenko. And, fighters don't normally get to have the chance to do what Amanda Nunes did. She walked out on top after beating up Juliana Pena.
She cleaned out 2 divisions, said, fuck it, I'm going home.
Yeah,
I'm better than everybody.
Yeah,
I'm out of here.
Yeah, she's married with her wife. She has they had a young new kid. It's like, she's been beating people up for years. Yeah. She, if it wasn't for Ronda Rousey to put women's fighting on the map, I think that, she is that person that did that. Like, we're not talking about Amanda Nunes as one of the best female fighters. We're talking about her as one of the best UFC mixed martial artists of all time.
That's right.
She's in that conversation where she is amazing. 2-time holder. But you look at what's going on. Shevchenko's been there before, where she was right there. She's fought, like, she's tough. She's a real good fighter. But Alexa Grasso, I did not see the fight either last night, and I've only read little bits about it. Unfortunately, I did not get to see it. But, this is twice now. And I was thinking, run that back. But I look at it, and I'm like, I wouldn't. Because you got a lot of women fighters right now, especially in the flyweight division, that are upcoming, and they're looking for title shots.
And this is it, right? This is the return fight for Shevchenko that we just saw. Grasso beat her.
Majority draws suck. Like, that's just
100%.
And
so
everything
but Grasso,
read.
just so I can set the table here for the listener. Grasso beats Shevchenko. Shevchenko gets a rematch because she's one of the best champions of all time. So the next thing we're going to do is give Shevchenko a chance. Shevchenko had her chance and didn't win. This is a draw. You can hate that 10-8 call.
One of the worst cards of all time, everyone said.
Yeah, from a
scorecard. Sorry, scorecard, not card.
That's right. But from what is usually considered to be a fairly well-respected judge, but she didn't win.
Yeah.
She got her chance, and she didn't win. When you don't finish somebody, when you don't beat somebody, and it goes to the judges, their decision stands, and you can hate it, but that's the way it goes. So I'm sort of with you on this, that I really like Shevchenko, and I wouldn't hate it. I would understand if they decided to do a trilogy here and go, well, we didn't really get a winner out of that fight. Well, Grasso beat her once, and Shevchenko gave it a shot to try and take it back. Didn't get it done. Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe you do move on to something else, man.
Well, there's just so much going on right now in this flyweight division, and the first one I'll bring up is Erin Blanchfield, right?
Yeah.
She's been hot, like she's absolutely on a tear right now, making her way into that spot. Now she's the second-ranked flyweight division. Like, I don't know if she's like, I think she deserves a title shot now. But then you look right below her is Manon Fiorot, who she's been sick too. Like these two girls have been unreal in the octagon, and they've been on a tear.
Yeah, they've been on the come up fast.
Yeah, and if they're either going to fight each other, I don't think they are. Like, that would be the only option. That'd is if
awesome,
they fight each other. That would be a two-verse. They're right now both sharing the 2 position here in the rankings. But like, if you're going to do that and have them fight each other, the winner fights. Okay, I could see it. You give Shevchenko one more chance.
2 fights 3.
But you look at this whole sense here. Macy Barber, she's at 8. I love Macy Barber. She's one of my favorite kind of young fighters to watch right now. She went through a little bit of a transition, a little bit of an injury, but man, she's been hyping up since she was a teenager. Like she's supposed to be the next kind of whatever, but next like women's fighter that's going to be the next big thing. And she went through a tough period, but then now she's been on a stretch where she just looks like a monster in the octagon. Yeah. This division, and you can even keep going down the list. Amanda Ribas, like looks good. Casey O'Neill, Canadian shout out. Right now the 15th women's the flyweight Jasmine Jasudavicius, like Canadian, like she looks good.
Yep.
The 9-2. Like there's a lot of females here right now that are kind of working their way into the rankings. So
when a lot of new names, as you said,
new names, but just go out there and watch them.
It's a transition period.
Yeah, Grasso, like that's the thing. When Nunes lost to her fight, it was kind of crazy to see. It's like, oh man, like Juliana Pena, like who is this? Yeah. Oh, well, she just beat Amanda Nunes, and she didn't she beat her. Like it wasn't a question. Like she beat her, and she got absolutely her clock cleaned the next fight, and she wanted a rematch because hey, she lost the belt. Amanda Nunes retired, sure, but I look at this as like there's a lot of good, and if Ronda Rousey comes back, whatever. I don't really care if she does or not. I have a problem with the way she ended. I don't like how she lost twice, then she quit, goes to the WWE. Now she wants to come back after a couple of years. It's like, I don't know. I just don't like that, and I'll respect her and what she's done for women's fighting. But I look at this as like right now, like even Molly McCann, like I didn't even bring her up, but like she lost already, but she's in these like she's kind of got a little bit of hype around her.
Yeah.
But Meatball Molly, she's in this, but she lost already to Erin Blanchfield early, like got submitted right away, and that kind of put her on the map. And then she's had back-to-back wins against top 5. Like that's what I mean. This number between Erin Blanchfield and Manon Ferrell, like they have some big wins against big time opponents here in the UFC. So the women's division right now is crazy. So I don't want to see Grasso versus Shevchenko 2. I think that if whoever
3.
gets, 3.
Yeah.
But the draw, I just look at a majority draw, like you said. Shevchenko had the chance there to do it.
Yep.
If there was some conspiracy theory that a Mexican fighter on Mexican Canadian, whatever it is, I'm not going to buy it either. But
I just, to me, you owe a champion like Shevchenko a rematch. She got her rematch and she didn't win. You get to move on. Like it's not, to me, the stupidest decision in the world to run it back a third time because you don't have a winner. But that's not what I would do. I just think you gave Shevchenko, and that doesn't mean Shevchenko never gets another shot, but she's got to maybe go fight Ferro or, get another shot at it. I don't think you have to run it back because she's been given, as the former champion, she's been given her chance. She didn't get it done. You get to move on. And that's a bummer for me. I said, I like Shevchenko a lot, but that's the way it goes sometimes, right? It's a tough business. You got to win. You mentioned Ronda Rousey there a minute ago. She appeared on Aaron Bronstadter's list as probably wouldn't surprise anybody, of the top 10 all-time women fighters in the UFC. I'm going to give you a second to pull that up if you've got it there. But there are some names here, and some that surprised me in the order that they were in. And this isn't just Aaron Bronstadter's opinion. He went around, he asked some fighters, he asked some judges, he asked coaches to try and get a consensus on the top 10 women fighters of all time in the UFC. I think the top 5 is going to be really interesting. We can kind of go through those one at a time. But if you've got it pulled up there, why don't you hit me with the 10 through 6 here, and then we can kind of kick those around.
Yeah, so the list was done by, I think, Robin Black and Aaron Bronstetter, and like you said, getting weighed in. But number 10 was already Alexa Grasso. And Alexa Grasso's at 10. Miesha Tate's at 9. Holly Holm's at 8. Rose Namajunas is at 7.
Thug Rose, love her.
Zhang Weili is at 6.
Your girl, there she is. So let's stop there for a second.
Yeah.
Are you at all surprised, and maybe we shouldn't be, but like, to me, I thought both Miesha Tate and Holly Holm possibly could have been a little bit higher because they are legends, right? They are GOATs. They are early on. Like Miesha Tate was Ronda Rousey's main rival early. Now, Ronda usually kicked her ass, so maybe that's why you don't get to be a little higher. But, when you look at that 10 through 6 ranking, are you comfortable with that? Anything that you would switch around or somebody you'd push out or push higher?
Yeah, you see, when I look at it, I look at 10 and Alexa Grasso's at 10. And I'm like,
She's on the come up, right? She's young.
For sure. But the list isn't 10 right now.
No, it's 10 all time.
10 greats ranking in the top 10 female fighters of all time. Yep. I look at this and I'm like,
so you don't think she's quite there yet?
How like 2 wins against Valentina Shevchenko? Like, no offense to Valentina Shevchenko, but
that's fair.
I want to see a lot more from Alexa Grasso to put her in there. Like, if she flames out and just never wins again, it's like, she really like I think it's too early to put her in that, but I like the Miesha Tate being in there, Holly Holm, like two legends. Like you bring up Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm, kind of her demise too, right? Like Rose Namajunas, like I like her being at 7 because she has done a lot. Like she's very popular. A little bit of a downslide right now. Things haven't been going her way, but for Thug Rose, like fan favorite, and she's been around for a while. She's got some great mic moments. She's got some crazy knockouts, right? Her leg kick to Zhang Weili, but Zhang Weili, like,
that's your
good.
Girl. I know you're a fan. She's at 6. Is always that about right for her?
Always ready for the karate. I have no problem with her being at 6 because I think that her battles that she's had as well. Like she's fought against Thug Rose a couple times here, but she's just dominated the opponents as well too. She's gotten better every time she gets in there. Like I said, when you learn so much about a fighter and a champion when you lose and how you bounce back. Look at Izzy Adesanya. Gets knocked out, loses as well. Well, before that, but gets knocked out by Pereira. But you look at when he moved up and he fought in the light, Jan Blachowicz in the light heavyweight title fight, and he just got beat up. But then he came back to the middleweights, and he's still undefeated in the middleweight. But then he lost to Alex Pereira. He gets knocked out. It's his first time getting knocked out. It's his first real L, because even when he fought Blachowicz, it was just kind of a wrestling match where there was quite obvious that there was a weight
discrepancy
there for sure. It was not good. So I like to learn a lot about, like, Kamaru Usman, another one, losing to Leon Edwards, gets knocked out. What does he do in his title fight after that? Doesn't look the same.
Nope.
It can change. Getting knocked out and losing and getting humbled when you've been on top for so long. Izzy Adesanya, I'm not a huge fan. I love how he bounced back and he still got the swag. Ended up losing again. Yep. So it's interesting, but he bounced back. That's my point. GSP, you look at him early in his losses to Matt Serra, and it's like, are you kidding me? But then he absolutely just always torched guys after that. So I look at Ronda Rousey, when I see her losses and I see them too, you can make arguments that Holly Holm, right? Like she should be higher.
Holly Holm
8 is a little low for me, maybe. But I also look at it as like, you know what? Like I would maybe only have her up over Thug Rose, maybe swap those two. So have her 7, have her 8. I'll take that as a wash.
I'd do that as well.
Yeah.
Holm, part of her thing is longevity, right? Yeah. She's been doing it so long. She's not, she's not in the elite anymore, but she's been around a long time, and she is the one who knocked off Ronda, which was a big deal at the time. So why don't we move into that top 5? Who is? Sorry.
So like I said, and for Zhang Weili to be able to come back from that the crazy knockout that she got, like the leg kick right to the head early on against Thug Rose, where everyone was talking about, oh man, Thug Rose is back, she's back. Well, what happened? Here came Zhang Weili. She came in there, and she's been just dominating that division since then, and it's been awesome to see. So like I said, you learn a lot about that. But then when you get into the top 5, we look at number 5 is Joanna Jacek,
right?
Which, not bad. I like that. Chris Cyborg at 4.
I was surprised. I'll be honest. I was surprised that she was that high. I just very good, clearly.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just a lot of names here. I might have had her more at 8 or 9, more like a Miesha Tate kind of area, but
very dominant though in the MMA world, and just like that's the thing. She's been so good and proven herself so much. So I look at her as,
I don't hate it. I don't think it's undeserved. I'm just they're all so close together, right? In this kind of 3 through 9 kind of, or 4 through 9 kind of mush, right? You can kind of shuffle some names if you wanted to. So she's a 5. Who do we got at 4?
4 is Cyborg, which is another because 5, Joanna Jacek. I think that she's been in some big time fights, and you go back to her in her fights with Zhang Weili, but she's been very, like, we're getting into warriors now, and I think that she's proven, like, her and Cyborg 5 and 4. I have no problems with them because I think they've done a little bit more than Holly Holm. And I think that they're right there.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. And then we get into the top
3.
And I think the top 3 is going to be just about the same for everybody. I don't know about you or me, but number 3, Ronda Rousey. I think her resume says more of it than anything, but what she did for women's fighting, like, when the UFC introduced women fighting, everyone was against it. It was very...
Dana White said, you will never see this in the UFC.
And what happened? It happened.
Yeah.
And she
was a star, and he essentially bankrolled it and brought it into the US for her, to bring her in. and then built a division around her, and she fucked people up for a long time.
Arm bars, like she was the star, and like that's the thing. Like,
was it like a minute and a half every fight, grab an arm bar and tap somebody out.
Yeah, seriously, and that's the thing. Like she was a badass, and it bothers me. Like I said, when she loses her fights, that's the thing. She got too big too fast, and I think that's it. You look at some of these fighters, Conor McGregor, the same way kind of thing. He got too big too fast, got right to his head.
There was a lot of talk when Ronda lost that she's off doing movies and off doing Leno and off.
She was not mentally prepared for that first fight against Holly Holm,
right? Yeah. And it doesn't go her way, and pretty quick, not long after that at all, she's gone. She's just out of the sport. And the women's game, you mentioned earlier on, or maybe I did, I don't remember, that the talk that she might be interested in coming back. And I don't hate that if this is what she wants to do. But the women's game has grown so much since she was gone. There are
because of her.
Of course, put it on the map. Like she is absolutely a legend in the sport who deserves respect for what she got done. But the way it has evolved since she left on the women's side, she could get beat up bad. Yeah. And, she went off and, you know me, I'm a bit of a wrestling guy. I enjoyed her run in WWE. It was kind of fun.
And people say it's been mixed too, right? It started good, then it sucks.
That's right. That's right.
It's been weird,
It was fun when she first came in. This was a star. This was a killer. They booked her properly. All that stuff. It was fun. I'm not sure, a couple years older, doing the wrestling thing, you come back in, she may get smashed, right? Like she doesn't get a title fight for a while. Like you could run her back against Misha Tate again if you wanted to do something like that.
Get her versus Holly Holm.
Sure.
Let's have something
That's
like
fine.
that.
Someone who's not like running a division right now, right? Like that would be okay. But Ronda deserves, no matter what people think of her now, deserves respect for what she did to put it on the map.
Absolutely. And that's where I have no issue with her being at 3. I honestly, if you want, you could put her at 2 for me, and I wouldn't be that upset about it. Like I said,
girl, you can't do that.
I'm not a huge fan of
number 2
of Ronda Rousey. I'm just not. I don't. I think that a lot of what has happened. You look at her and Conor, right? They're responsible, I think, throughout the 2010s of carrying the UFC because the UFC came on so hot in the late to early the 20s.
Yeah.
Right? Like
05, 06,
05, 06, 07, 08, 09. You get in there, but then like the 10, 11, it got really greasy and it got really a lot of these there was not a good turning over of roster and good stars coming up. But you had Ronda Rousey and you had Conor McGregor.
That's right.
You had John Jones too, but he again always kind of up and down.
Isn't he?
He's here, but is he in the news because he's doing something stupid or is he winning in the octagon? But those were the main, UFC fighters that were stars, and they were the ones that were responsible for carrying the UFC through those times. Now the UFC has done a great job of bringing a lot more guys in that are like that, and guys and girls that are just, it feels like it's so much more natural. Like when you see, Ronda Rousey come in the octagon like right now, like you said, and she's going to fight one of these young killers, like she has to be ready because
she'll get beat up. This is a different world than she left.
That's exactly it. Look at Conor McGregor. He can't even get into USADA drug testing pools right now. You got pictures with him and Ian Gary.
Still saying he's going to fight in December.
Yeah, Ian Gary's over here, and he's got pictures with Conor, and he's already becoming the next Conor McGregor, and Conor McGregor is still trying to fight. And that's my point. When you look at Ronda Rousey coming back into the UFC, you've been away for a long time. Like it's going to be there's some killers in this division, like I said. So there's a lot going on. So I have no problem with Ronda being at 3 or 2. I don't. Number 2, Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah, I got a problem there. I'm not letting you move Ronda ahead of Shevchenko for me. To me,
I don't. I want to either, but I'll give that respect. I just know that no matter what, we know who number 1 is.
Yeah, and that's right. And we talked about Shevchenko a little while ago. She has been elite, and if she was not fighting in the same universe, the same time frame as Amanda Nunes, you're probably talking about Valentina Shevchenko as the greatest women's fighter of all time.
Yeah.
But she did fight at the same time as Nunes, and Nunes was a fucking monster. So Shevchenko doesn't get a sniff of 1, but to me, her game is more well-rounded. She doesn't have the same legacy in building it that Ronda Rousey does, but if we're talking about best fighters ever, she belongs, for me, ahead of Ronda. And so I like Shevchenko at 2. I'm good with that.
Yeah, the only thing like I said, there's the one thing when we're having this, like I don't like having the current kind of fighters in. Like I said, Grasso at 10, I have that problem. Like Nami Nunes at 7, it's like okay, like is it too early? Is it not? I look at it in kind of those kind of senses. But when I'm going around and I see Shevchenko, I don't have an issue with it because she's right there and she's been very good. I know she has had some big time fights. She lost Amanda Nunes already back. When was that? 2017. Yeah, 2017.
It's been a while. Yeah.
So she's fought Amanda Nunes twice and she's lost both times.
Yep.
So she's put herself in that probably number 2. But that's where I say like she just for Shevchenko, she's been dominant, but she hasn't been like. I don't want to say it's weird because when you're talking about like she hasn't had those flashy, like crazy, like sexy moments where it's like knockouts and everything like that. Like she's just been dominant, right?
Yeah, but this is always the go-to. Right? Like neither did GSP.
Yeah, exactly.
GSP was
that's
elite,
exactly it. That's it.
But he wasn't.
And Shevchenko's not strong on the mic. And,
that's right.
And so very much like GSP. Like it's exactly it. Where GSP was not the sexiest fighter.
Fantastic fighter.
Yeah.
But not
smarter, driven.
Yeah, but not highlight reel knockouts.
Exactly.
Not crazy finishes. Yeah, no, you're totally right about that.
So when I look at Shevchenko, her being 2, that's where, like I said, Ronda Rousey had those. She had the crazy knockouts. She had the crazy submissions. She had the name. She had the movie star. Like she's put women's fighting on the map. I could see her being 2 because of that resume.
It's all about what you want it to be, right? Because I think you're right. Who's more important to women's MMA? Ronda Rousey.
And that's why Ronda's up there, right?
Yes.
I think we all know that.
Yeah. She's more important.
If it wasn't for her doing
Shevchenko,
that.
But was she a better fighter than Shevchenko? Probably not. No. Probably not. So so it just depends what debate you want to have, right?
Exactly.
As long as it's just based on performance, it's probably Shift. And then at number 1, of course, Amanda Nunes.
The GOAT, yeah.
Just, as you said a few minutes ago, not just the best women's fighter of all time, like someone in the mix for best pound for pound fighter in the world, right?
Yeah.
Like always in that top 5, just blowing people up. And, just not only has she beaten everybody and cleaned everybody out, she's beaten everybody who's ever held her title, right? Like this is an elite athlete.
2 titles, 2 divisions.
2 titles, 2.
Like you said, they made a division for her too, basically.
Yeah.
That's basically going to go away.
Yeah, no, there's nobody left, right?
Yeah.
And that was when she retired, as you said, was starting a family. I say this, it's going to sound disrespectful. It's not meant. She's getting a little older, right? Women's lives are a little different than men's, right? The demands on the body, the things that you might want to do with your body are different as a women's athlete than as a men's athlete. But when it was all said and done, she gets to look around both those divisions and go, why stay? What's left? I've beaten everyone. And not just beaten everyone, I've smashed everyone.
Yeah.
Had that one loss late. I forget now, actually.
Juliana Pena.
Yeah, you're right. To Pena. Good call. Came back and blew her up, right?
Yeah.
It was sort of, shit, I had a bad day at the office. I'll be back tomorrow to fix that. And that's it. I got 2 title belts. I've beaten everyone. There's nobody coming who's going to touch me. Fuck it, I'm going home. And power to her, man. You love to see that shit.
And any other champion that does that, like I would probably have a hard time defending in the, retiring without the rubber match between her and Juliana Pena.
Right.
Like I get Juliana Pena was pissed and she was yelling at Dana White, and Dana White's like, I got to avoid Juliana Pena right now because this isn't good for me.
Right. So Pena beats Nunes.
Wins the title.
Yeah. Nunes comes back, beats her. And so
Big
Pena,
time. Beat her up.
Beat her up bad.
Yeah.
And Pena goes, well, we're 1-1. Like, where's my... And Nunes is like, no, I'm good. I'm going home. I'm going to retire. So I'm with you that it can be a bad look, but she's already smashed everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's...
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
That's the thing. So, and she just, like you said, just so good, so dominant, so intense. Amanda Nunes has shown that she has just been one of the most dominant forces in the UFC for so long. You see so many of these fighters that come along, and it's like John Jones, her. There's so like John Jones. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan, but it's hard to ignore him as being one of the best fighters of all time. I look at GSP, as being one of the best fighters of all time. Not the sexiest either, but just always doing it. There's so many of these fighters that come in around, but I love just seeing the way Amanda Nunes has always carried herself. She's been so good for women's fighting, and like you said, you look at so many of these young fighters coming up. They're going to be looking at her and Ronda Rousey, being like, "Look, I wanted to fight because of her."
Right.
So I think Amanda Nunes at number 1. That's like an absolute given, and the rest are kind of of you could shuffle around in different
That's
orders. But I think that top 10, like it's good to get the Grasso being in there is just like, okay, cool. But I don't know if she's going to be in there. But is she being in the top 10 because she's only like, you're going to get into, like you said, where you're going to pick arguments here. And it's like, okay, she's number 10 because she's what? And this came out before the majority draw. Like she hasn't even beaten Shevchenko twice.
Right.
She beat her and there's a majority draw.
That's true. You're right.
So it's like, it's kind of a weird spot to be in for her. So her one win over Shevchenko puts her at number 10. Come on. Like, I don't know about that one.
So who, in your opinion, who's been pushed out by her that you would have had in that spot?
It's a good question because I don't know. I like having her in there as the number 10 spot. That's where my counter argument comes in because maybe she is that girl that is that next person.
Yeah,
right?
She's on the come up. She looks that good. Maybe she does get the nod here.
I also look at, we've been in the UFC with women's fighting for what? It hasn't been very long. No. It's barely been, 15 years? I don't even think it's been 15 years.
No.
Yeah, I think it's barely even been like 12 years, 13 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Like 2013, I think it was. Was it 2013, 2012?
2012, something like that is my memory, yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to double check that. But I look at it in the sense of like, we're already talking about the greatest fighters of all time, and it's only been 15 years.
Yeah.
Like you're going to have lists like that. So it's like
a fun list, though. It's something
it is
for guys like us to debate on a show like this.
It's content. I look at that, but I also look at it's like you want to bring hype to some of these fighters too, right? So when I see Grasso at 10, I'm like, I think she only gets that because of her win against Shevchenko, who's number 2 on this list, but also because she's young, she's upcoming. Like I said, right now there's a good group of young fighters that are going to be going for that belt, and she could lose it next week, and it could be then taken away by another fighter. Like there could be, like I said, Meatball Molly could come back in, and like you said, Manon Fiorot's right there.
Yeah.
There's so many fighters right now, and I really like Manon Fiorot mainly because she's a karate person, but also I think she's really good sitting right there. But like I said,
karate fighters have chance for spectacular finishes. Like that, right? And
the soft spots for me because I did karate for 10 years in martial arts, I always have a soft spot. Like I said, Zhang Weili, like I like a lot of karate fighters, and in general, Lyoto Machida was one of my favorite fighters. I've always kind of leaned towards karate fighters, but that's my personal bias in general. But like I said, there's so many of these young women fighters right now that are coming up, and they could just like Grasso could be in 2 years from now, she could be in irrelevant. Like it's just the way we like. So I look at this list and it's like, okay,
for you, it's just she looks good, but it's probably too soon to have her.
Too soon, but it's also good to have her in there as a hype girl, kind of as like,
we want to represent
watch this
new
chick,
era.
That she's going to be good, and she could make her way into the top 5 if she just kind of cleans house for the next couple of years, like we've seen some fighters do. Right? Sometimes you think, oh man, there's some big fights, and then a guy like Kamaru Usman comes out of nowhere, and he's like, okay, and he goes on a stretch. Is he out of sanity? Like we see some of these fighters come up out of nowhere, and then they win a championship and they hold the title for a while, or they win a title and then they lose it the next fight. It's like it could happen. That's the fight game. So for Grasso to be there, it's like I can argue she shouldn't be there, but I also like it because I think she could be someone that can, if she wins a couple fights, hey, she's gonna have no doubt proving that she belongs in that list.
Yeah, for me, the takeaway from it is,
who would you have? Would you have her in there at 10, or would you take her out for someone else? Because ultimately,
I probably am fine with it, but part of it is because it's a promotional activity, right? Yeah. We want someone who's like Miesha Tate, Holly Holm. They're on their way down, right? On the way out, they've been around. They're goats. They've been awesome, but they're not going to be here much longer. Rousey is gone. She might be back. Nunes is gone. Like you want to point, like there's a reason to still care, right? Like here's someone who's exciting right now, who's young, who might be here for the long term. So I think that's probably why she gets in there. I don't have a huge beef with it, especially when it's at 10. Like for me, 4 through 9, you could probably mix those however you want. I wouldn't have a huge issue with it. I think it has to be Nunes at 1. I'm big on Shevchenko at 2 and Rousey at 3 because she's not quite on the same level as those, but what she built is worth recognition and puts her very high. Everybody after that, for me, 4 through 9, you could probably put them in whatever order you want, and I'm probably pretty good with it.
I feel you on that one.
Yeah.